Good morning, dear children. I hope you all are safe and sound at home. I had sent you a movie on After 20 Years. I hope you all have enjoyed it. It is just the summary of what this chapter is all about. Friendship and Duty. Activity 1. William Sidney Potter, better known by the pen name O. Henry, was an American writer. O. Henry's short stories are known for their wit, wordplay, warm characterization, and clear twist endings. He was born on 11 September 1862 in North Carolina and died on 5th June 1910. From December 1903 to January 1906, O. Henry wrote a story a week for the New York World magazine and published several short stories in other magazines. Some of his famous stories are The Last Leaf, The Gift of the Maggie, The Furnished Room, Cabbages and Kings. The story After 20 Years has the typical O. Henry twist. However, the characters portrayed could well make us reflect on our values. So, O. Henry, he was a famous American short story writer. He wrote a dry, humorous style and often ironically used coincidences and surprise endings. After 20 Years is a short story by O. Henry published in 1906. O. Henry, whose real name was William Sidney Potter, made a name for himself with his unexpected twist endings, and many consider After 20 Years to be one of the best examples of his literary technique. Let us start with the chapter. The policemen on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for show. For spectators were few. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gusts of wind with a taste of rain in them had well nigh de-peopled the streets. The story begins with a cop walking down a street on a rainy, windy night. The cop projects a sense of strength and takes his rounds very seriously. It is merely 10 o'clock, but very few people can be seen in the street. Trying doors as he went, twirling his club with many intricate and artful movements, now and then to cast his watchful eye adown the Pacific thoroughfare, the officer with his stalwart form and slight swagger made a fine picture of a guardian of peace. The vicinity was one that kept early hours. Now and then you might see the lights of a cigar store or an all-night lunch counter. But the majority of the doors belonged to business places that had long since been closed. So he is trying all the doors of the shops as he passes them to ensure that they are locked and secured for the evening. When about midway of a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of a darkened hardware store, a man leaned with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke up quickly. So when he sees a man standing near one of the closed stores, he approaches him. "It's all right, officer," he said. "I am just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny to you, doesn't it? Well, I'll explain if you'd like to make certain it's all straight. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where this store stands, Big Joe Brady's restaurant. Until 5 years ago," said the policeman, "it was torn down then." The man begins to explain his presence, telling him that he is waiting for an old friend. 20 years before, he and his friend had decided to meet at that place. He acknowledges that it's a pretty odd place to meet, explaining that 20 years before it was a restaurant owned by a man named Big Joe Brady. The cop tells him that the restaurant closed down about 5 years before. The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. His scarf pin was a large diamond oddly set. So the man lights his cigar and the cop can see a scar near his right eyebrow, and he also sees him wearing a very large jewel as a tie pin. 20 years ago tonight, said the man, I dined here at Big Joe Brady's with Jimmy Wells, my best chum and the finest chap in the world. He and I were raised here in New York just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning, I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again exactly 20 years from that date and time, no matter what our conditions might be or from what distance we might have to come. We figured that in 20 years each of us ought to have our destiny worked out and our fortunes made, whatever they were going to be. So he goes on to tell the cop that 20 years before he met his friend Jimmy Wells there. They were best friends and had grown up in New York City. They were almost like brothers. The day after their dinner, the man had decided to go on a trip out west to seek his fortune. But Jimmy believed the best place for him to be was New York and opted to stay behind. They then made a promise to meet on the same spot in 20 years, no matter in whatever situation they would be, because they were confident of having achieved great things during that time. It sounds pretty interesting, said the policeman. Rather a long time between meets, though it seems to me. Haven't you heard from your friend since you left? So the cop feels interested in the story and he asks if they stayed in touch during that time. Well, yes, for a time we corresponded, said the other, but after a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is a pretty big proposition and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he's alive, for he always was the truest, staunchest old chap in the world. He'll never forget. I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight and it's worth if my old partner turns up. So the man admits that they kept in touch for a little while but stopped after a few years. Despite this gap in communication, the man was confident that Jimmy will meet him as promised because Jimmy was an extremely reliable person. He tells the cop that he traveled a very long way to be there but will consider it worth it if he gets to see his friend again. The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lids of it set with small diamonds. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. So he checks the time on an expensive watch and notes that it is 3 minutes to 10 and 10 o'clock was when they said goodbye 20 years before. Did pretty well out in the West, didn't you? Asked the policeman. The cop, noting the jewel and the watch, asked the man that he must have been very successful out west. You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was a kind of plodder though, good fellow as he was. I've had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going on to get my pie. A man gets in a groove in New York. It takes the West to put a razor edge on him. The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. I'll be on my way. Hope your friend comes around all right. Going to call him time on sharp? I think I should say not, said the other. I'll give him half an hour at least. If Jimmy is alive on earth, he'll be here by that time. So long, officer. Good night, sir, said the policeman, passing on along his beat, trying doors as he went. So, the man enthusiastically confirms this. He expresses hope that Jimmy should have also done just as well as him, but he also thinks that Jimmy was a slow mover and so he is worried he might not have made his way very far in New York City. The cop leaves and offers his hope that Jimmy shows up. He asks if the man will leave if Jimmy doesn't make it by 10 o'clock. The man says he'll wait at least an additional half an hour because he has total faith that if Jimmy is alive, he will come. The cop accepts this and leaves. There was now a fine cold drizzle falling, and the wind had risen from its uncertain puffs into a steady blow. The few pedestrians in the neighborhood hurried dismally and silently along with coat collars turned high and pocketed hands. And in the door of the hardware store, the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment with a friend of his youth smoked his cigar and waited. So the rain gets heavier and the man waits. After about 20 minutes, a tall man appears wearing a long coat and hurries over. About 20 minutes, he waited, and then a tall man in a long overcoat with collar turned up to his ears hurried across from the opposite side of the street. He came directly to the waiting man. "Is that you, Bob?" he asked doubtfully. "Is that you, Jimmy Wells?" cried the man in the door. So he asks if the man's name is Bob but sounds doubtful. The man says it is and asks if it's Jimmy Wells. "Bless my heart," exclaimed the new arrival, grasping both the other's hands with his own. "It's Bob, sure as fate. I was certain I'd find you here if you were still in existence. Well, well, well. 20 years is a long time. The old restaurant's gone, Bob. I wish it had lasted so we could have had another dinner there. How has the West treated you, old man?" "He is," and so they shake hands. Jimmy Wells expresses a wish that the old restaurant was still there so they could have one more dinner in it, and then asks if Bob's time out west was good to him. "It has given me everything I asked it for. You've changed lots, Jimmy. I never thought you were so tall by 2 or 3 inches. "Oh, I grew a bit after I was 20. Doing well in New York, Jimmy?" "Moderately. I have a position in one of the city departments. Come on, Bob. We'll go around to a place I know of and have a good long talk about old times." So Bob assures him that it has been. Bob then notes that Jimmy seems to be taller than he used to be, and Jimmy assures him that he grew a little after he left. Bob asks if Jimmy is doing well, and Jimmy says he is and that he works for the city. Jimmy suggests they go to a place he knows so they can talk. The two men started up the street arm in arm. One, his egotism enlarged by success, was beginning to outline the history of his career. The other, submerged in his overcoat, listened with interest. So Bob and Jimmy, they begin to walk arm in arm. Bob tells Jimmy the story of his life and Jimmy listens, obviously interested. At the corner stood a drugstore, brilliant with electric lights. When they came into the glare, each of them turned simultaneously to gaze upon the other's face. The man from the west stopped suddenly and released his arm. "You are not Jimmy Wells," he snapped. 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nose from a Roman to a pug. So as Bob tells Jimmy the story of his life and Jimmy listens interestedly, when they reach a corner and stand under a street light, however, Bob pulls away and declares that the other man is not Jimmy Wells. "It sometimes changes a good man into a bad one," said the tall man. "You've been under arrest for 10 minutes. Silky Bob, going quietly, are you? That's sensible. Now, before we go to the station, here's a note I was asked to hand you. You may read it here at the window. It's from Patrolman Wells." The man from the west unfolded the little piece of paper handed over to him. His hand was steady when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished. The note was rather short. "Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. When you struck the match to light your cigar, I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow I couldn't do it myself, so I went around and got a plainclothes man to do the job. Jimmy." The tall man tells Bob that he has in fact been under arrest since the tall man arrived. He tells Bob that the Chicago police contacted the New York cops and told them to watch out for him. He asks if Bob will come quietly, and when Bob indicates he will, he hands him a note from a policeman named Wells. The note tells him that Jimmy came to their meeting but did not wish to arrest him himself, and so he sent another officer to do the work. So with this we come to the end of the chapter. I hope you all have understood it. Go through the video again and again and try to understand look at watch the movie that I have sent you, you will be able to understand the chapter. I will be sending you the assignments as well as the question answers of this chapter later on. Thank you.